Okay.
Hello and welcome back to the Willie Morgan Show with Manchester United icon Willie Morgan. Christmas is approaching. It's going to be our last show of 2021. First of all, Willie, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Obviously, with this new variant, there's a new variant every other month. It's horrendous for people, but yeah, I'm all right. My golf's good. Hit the ball very well. It's a kiss of death, Callum. I shouldn't say that really. It is a kiss of death, but I am hitting the ball very well at the moment. So yeah, things are good. Just getting ready for Christmas, even though it's a bit deflated. You know, a lot of the family have had COVID. Some have recovered, some have still got it. So it's a bit of a mixture. So, and probably the same for everyone, wherever they are. I'm sure it's the same. So, but other than that, obviously, as always, every time we come on, do the show, some sad news. Jimmy Robson. Now, you're too young to remember Jimmy Robson, but I actually played with him at Burnley in the early 60s. He was an inside left. Again, for all the listeners and the viewers, an inside left. They're defunct now. Nobody knows what they mean. Jimmy was a great inside left. Played in one of the great Burnley teams of all time. And anyway, sadly, Jimmy's gone. And another friend of mine, who actually I played with as a 14, 15-year-old at Fishcross Boys Club, Frank Burrows. Frankie was a right half. Again, I know people don't understand what that is, but Frankie was a right half. He played for Wraith Rovers, Scunthorpe, Swindon. I think he finished at Swindon, and then he went on to become manager at Swindon, and then assistant manager at Spurs with his name escapes me.
Harry Redknapp.
Harry Redknapp, yeah. Oh, that's why his name escaped me. Yeah, Harry Redknapp, yeah. Callum, you're so good. Anyway, Frank sadly left us last week as well. And another great friend of mine, him and his family, we've been friends for a long time, was a singer called John Miles. And John Miles, for the listeners and the viewers, had a #1 hit all over the world with a song he wrote and sang called Music Is My First Love. And we've become great friends. He never beat me at golf. So, but Eileen, his wife, Eileen, if you listen and everyone's listening, to pass on to her. We love you very much.
It's just so sad at this time of year, and I think, as you say, with the shows, it's just tough that no matter what time of year, I suppose, we just get news like this all the time.
He was only 72, and you know, he sang and played golf, obviously, at the Howard Keel Golf Classic many, many years, and the Johnny Mathis Golf Classic that I organised. And both Mathis and Howard thought he was an amazing talent. He could do everything. He was a phenomenal, great singer. Sang with Andrea Bocelli, did the proms, they did duets together. So any of you people get a chance to go onto YouTube and bring up John Miles, believe me, you're in for a treat. But great guitarist, great pianist. He was just a phenomenal artist. And anyway, it was very sad. So, but on a brighter note, today is happy birthday to Harold Riley and his wife Ashraf, who shared the same birthday. And it's their birthday today. Harold, of course, being arguably one of the greatest living artists in the world. Anyway, happy birthday to you both. I know you listen to the show. Look forward to seeing you when COVID's a little bit better. And also something I mentioned in the last pod. There was a question came in, and I think it was Roy Keane that had said that the lads, when Ollie got the sack, didn't leave. Michael Carrick, I take my hat off to you, babe. Did the honourable. lovely thing to do. So I take back everything I said. And other than that, no, just, I mean, Frankie Burrows, I wouldn't have known. A great friend of both of us, George Honeyman, up in Celtic still. I mean, it was George that let me know. Anyway, we just get on, just got to get on with things, and hopefully, the world will be a better place next year. Callum can always hope Manchester United is a better place next year. And of course, we won the cup, which is always nice. My goodness, I thought we were never going to win anything against Celtic. So we'll take it. We'll take it. It's a start, isn't it?
Well, as you say, for Celtic, it certainly is a start, and to win a cup is always something that has to be cherished. In terms of Manchester United, we've already spoken about the COVID situation. No games played now for just over a week. The Brighton game was postponed. The Brentford game was postponed. But fingers crossed, it looks as if United will be back in action again this coming week, which I think fans of the club are desperate to see, even the players will be desperate to see it. When you were playing, Willie, if a game was called off, obviously not for COVID, but if a game was postponed for whatever reason, how did it feel when you had a free week? Was it frustrating as a player?
No, it was brilliant. We're on the golf course right away. A week on the golf course. It was very rare. I don't recall a game being postponed for any reason. We played in everything. Obviously not COVID. It's a different situation. But icy pitch, all sorts of things. You just played. They just put you out there. You get on with it. So, I don't. That's a good question, that Callum. I don't remember any game being postponed ever. So, but if it had have been, like I said, next week on the golf course would have been lovely.
The question I want to ask you from a player's perspective, Willie, in Scotland, just literally before we started recording, it's been announced that all stadiums will only be allowed 500 fans in, regardless of size. If you were a player, would you rather they postponed games until they can get more fans back in? Because, I mean, Celtic are due to play Rangers, for example, on the 2nd of January. That game shouldn't just have 500 people in there. I mean, though that game's all about the atmosphere and the passion from the stands, I think to have 500 people in would ruin that as a spectacle for the fans that get in and people watching at home.
I think from a player's point of view, I would rather the games were cancelled, because I don't want to play in front of 500 people. But I suppose from the Football League's point of view, when would they play the games? Mm. It's very, very difficult, because COVID is not going to go away. It's going to be here. Well, it'll be here forever. What degree we don't know, but it's going to be here forever. And what about the build-up of games? You'd never get them played, Callum. It'd be very, very difficult. So no, it's not ideal. Certainly for me. No, I want a capacity crowd when I'm playing. But if it had to be, if the game's got to be played and there's only fans, then you just get on with it. From a player, players are very adaptable. Keep telling you, we're not the brightest people on the planet. We're not like you. We're not too bright. So you just get on with things. You just accept it and get on with it, and look forward to the next day on the golf course. I'm playing. I told you, my golf's good. I can't wait to get out.
Well, as you say, I think it's definitely a tough one. I totally agree with you in terms of fans and players would rather have crowds, but for the league, it's going to be very difficult. Obviously, we're at a stage already in England with obviously United's last 2 games been off, where the league's starting to look a little disjointed. Teams are now starting to have 2 or 3 games in hand. Yeah. Do you think there has to come a point where the teams that have played maybe 3 or 4 games more have a small break to let everyone catch up? Because if you're in a title race and you've got 4 or 5 games in hand. Is
Oh,
that
but
fair?
they won't have a break to let them catch up. At some stage, their games will be finished and other teams will still be playing. I don't think they're going to say, oh, you can have a break while they play a couple of games. I don't think that'll happen. They'll just play every game they can when it should be played, if it can be played, you know. I think it's unfair. I think, you know, games in hand mean nothing. Points on the board are everything. You know, you give the team it's 3 points clear, and the second, the team behind him got 3 games in hand. I'll take the team that's 3 points clear. Games in hand mean nothing. It's one of those false. It looks great, you know. You still got to win them, and it invariably doesn't happen. You know, the number of times you look at a club and they've been in a great position. You know, only a couple of points or 3 points behind, a couple of games in hand. You think, well, never. Very rare it works. You know, very rare. So, and I think it's unfair to let teams pile up points where other teams can't play. They should just shut football down for, you know, I know it's hard on everyone, but it should be the same for everyone. It should be the same. I mean, I was watching the Chelsea manager complaining last week. They made him play. And, you know, he's got so many people off with COVID, and yet they made him play. So why is it all right for some people not to play, some people to play? It has to be the same all round. It has to be fair. And it looks like, you know, City are playing the games and looks like they'll win the league again. I wouldn't like to bet against them, let's put it that way. So, but they're playing games and other teams are not.
We've talked about several Manchester United players who maybe should move on. One of them has been very public in the last 2 weeks, and Anthony Martial, his agent, has said he wants to leave the club immediately in January. Ralph Rangnick said Martial has not told him or the club that. I assume, judging by that little smirk in your face, that you'd be happy to see Martial move on? Just
a minute. Shall I get the list out, including him, of course? He can, without a doubt. I mean, I have no idea. The guy that's come in, I don't know who he is. He's not done anything. He's done nothing, really. He's another coach. That's all he is. But if he says what he's going to do, he's going to trim it down, get rid of them. Let's see how many. He should start with 10 anyway. Get rid of 10 of them right away. Well, you know who they are. I know who they are. The fans know who they are. We'll see what he does. We'll see Martial. You miss Martial. You wouldn't get a game for the Swan at the bottom of the road, the pub. You wouldn't get a game for the pub team. He's average. But they all are. Lingard, there's another one I read it. He's leaving. Good. You know, good. But there's a lot more. A lot more. That's the tip of the iceberg. Then you know who they are. We all know who they are. So we'll see what I hope he does. I hope, and he has to. He's got to cull. He's got to, you know, cull this team and rebuild. And whoever comes in and takes over, we'll start with the better team, better squad, people that want to play for Man United. We know this rubbish of it. Well, my player wants to leave. My player doesn't like, and he's a. Get out of here. You don't want to play for Man United? Get out of here. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, and we won't miss any of them. Any of them. At all. In fact, I should give them a ring and ask them to come and have a look at you. When's your next game? When are you next game?
Maybe 10 years ago, Willie, but not so much now. But I suppose I couldn't be much worse than Matic and some of the others that we've talked about in recent times.
I can tell you certainly be quicker than Matic. I don't know about worse, but you certainly be quicker. And I keep saying that tree in the garden's quicker. Mind you, it's quicker than quite a few of them. It's not just Matic. There's loads, you know. We all know who they are. And I hope he puts his money where his mouth is. Is it Ralph? He's called
Ralph Rangnick.
Yeah, Ralph Ranick, yeah. I hope he does, and I hope he succeeds. It'd be fantastic, and it would please everyone. And then let's start again. Okay, there's no, who are you going to buy? There's no great players anyway. Very, very few. And the ones who are at good clubs, and they're not going to be moving. But you have to build, and you have to start with kids. But my pet hate, coaches. I was listening to someone. Oh, his name escapes me because he was a nobody, chanting away about how great coaches, they can take a player and make him really good. Really? What? Oh, because he tells them how to play and it helps them and it makes them better. Get out of here. You buy the end product. I'll buy a right winger because you can play in the right wing and go past people and create. I'll buy a centre forward because he scores goals. And they don't. I mean, and they're talking about on the telly like, oh, he's so good because he takes ordinary players and he makes them good. Really? Don't think so. You take an ordinary player and make him ordinary. That's all they do. And until they get the game will, maybe not in my lifetime, but the game will change again. It will go back to having coaches, go back to having managers. All this coaching rubbish, head coach, assistant coach, all come from America, American football. That's what they call them over there, and been like that for years and years. And as they always said, eventually everything comes over here from America. Eventually, and we never thought that would, but it did. So I want to be around when a club say, we're going to appoint a new manager. I'll take my hat off and I'll support that club for a while.
Just on the sort of positive result we talked about earlier, Celtic winning the League Cup against Hibernian. Did you watch the game, and if so, what did you make of it?
I didn't watch the game. I wasn't able to see the game. We were out. But I was watching the score. I was watching the score. It was 0-0. I thought, oh God, I hope they're not going to sneak a goal. And then Hibs scored. I thought, oh, not again. And then we were away somewhere, and I was frightened to look. And I was with a pal of mine. Guy, he was telling me, he said Man City were 3 up. I said, oh, he was a Man City supporter, by the way. He was delighted. I said, didn't get the Celtic. He said, yeah, the 1-2-1. I said, really? He said, yeah, the 1-2-1. So that's what I found out. So it was, very pleasant day, obviously.
They are talking about, obviously, in Scotland, there's a 2-week winter break every year. They're talking about maybe extending that for a 3rd week. Just to obviously try and get the crowds back in, as we talked about at the start of the show. Is that something that would be wise, just to, as you say, cancel the games just now and revisit it in maybe 3 or 4 weeks?
Well, if they're prepared to play 2 games a week, which we did back in 60s and 70s, yeah, you can take a longer break, hopefully get on top of the COVID, and get the fans back in. It's hard for the supporters as well. It's harder for the supporters, I think, than the players. I say the players are too thick to understand the difference, including myself. But the fans, it's difficult. It's their life, and it is difficult for them. So there is no, I don't know, there's no master plan. You just got to try and do the best you can, and whatever it is, okay, it might not be right, but at least it's worth a try. And there's nothing wrong in trying. Never decry anyone that tries.
Before we get to listeners' questions, obviously you've got your lovely Christmas tree in the background. I think we're all dying to know, did you help with the building of that Christmas tree, or did you have your feet up while Kay did the hard graft?
Yes, and your next question is? Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. No, I'll tell you what I did do. I carried it down to here and then left it to Kate. So she loves it, you know. And it's very nice. I turn the lights on. But no, we've got another one in the lounge as well. My goodness, it's like, oh, well, whatever. But Kay loves it, and just let her get on with it. You know, we were never Christmas. We were always New Year. Certainly in Scotland back in the 50s, 60s, and even when I came to England, as soon as the match was finished, in the car. By the way, there was no motorways in those days. We had to drive up over Sharp, through Carlisle, Kendal, Lockerbie, to get home. It was a long journey, but we did. And I used to, we play on the New Year's Day, you played, and then jump in the car, and it'd take about 5 hours, sometimes 6 hours to get back. And then used to always get back round about 12 o'clock-ish, just in time for New Year, to bring a New Year in. So we played, the thing was, we played over Christmas. So it was difficult, when you got the kids their presents and then you were off to play, or you were off to train, or you were on the road somewhere playing away from home. So Christmas was always a little bit different, and it's never really changed for me. But for Kay, yeah, she loves it, and obviously we've got family coming at Christmas, subject to no lockdowns happening. I don't know what Boris is up to. He's probably having a party at the moment. He'll be fine, as long as they're happy. As long as they're happy. So the plan is, yeah, it's nice now at this stage of life that I can actually enjoy Christmas, So, but New Year for me has always been more special, to be honest.
In terms of Christmas, do you have any favourite Christmas films or Christmas TV that you like to watch, or Christmas music?
Christmas films. I used to love watching Elvis and Blue Hawaii. They always played that on Christmas Day anyway. The Christmas film, National Lampoon, Chevy Chase. He was the funniest, absolute funniest guy. He was brilliant, Chevy Chase. I Love Actually. I enjoyed that. It was funny and good. One of the old ones, probably Miracle on 34th Street. Richard Attenborough. My memory serves me well. Yeah, but not really. I was always looking for an Elvis movie because they're always on over, as I said, over Christmas period. So I used to get my own little room with my Elvis on. Songs, Christmas songs. Oh, so many. But Blue Christmas, The King, would be right up there top. Mary's Boy Child, John, Mr. Mathis, which is fantastic, one of the great songs. And then two others, one other you want, but two others. I think there was two I was looking at. Bon Jovi, I'll Be Home for Christmas. I love Bon Jovi. And then right at the very top, I got to tell you a story. Bonnie M, Mary's Boy Child. When that came out, that was in the early 70s, okay? Very early 70s. And the three girls, I don't know if you've ever seen Bonnie M or know who they are. Oh, yeah, okay. And they got a little black lad that sang Bobby, right? And he does a little dance to the song. When the song's on, Bobby had for the whole of the Man United dressing room. The first time it came on, top of the whatever it was, I can't remember the show's there, Top of the Pops or something like that. And we went in for training on the morning afterwards. I said, did you see Boney M last? Yeah. What about? And the whole dress, he does a little dance. And to this day, I still bloody do that. Every time it comes on, I get up and do my little Bobby dance. So, yeah, there would be four of my favourites. You know, there's so many, but those would be way up there. But Boney M, as I said, Elvis and John and the Bon Jovi one. I love the Bon Jovi one as well. So there's some nice things at Christmas as well.
Staying on the theme of Christmas, John Blaisdell, good friend of the show, he wants to know, what's your favourite part of Christmas dinner?
Favourite part of Christmas dinner? Oh, John. Probably favourite part of Christmas dinner. Well, I used to get a prawn cocktail to start with. I know it's not really Christmas, but I used to love prawn cocktails. And I still have one, by the way. I'll be having one on Saturday as well, John. And not only the starter, the turkey I can take or leave, you know, it's not really. And I like a bit of Christmas pud with some custard. I prefer custard with mine. And maybe a little brandy and port at the end of it. That's Rod Stewart's drink. He taught me to drink that.
What would be your drink of choice on Christmas? Would that be your choice, or if you could have anything, what would you be having at the table?
You can only have one of those, Callum. You can only have one of. Even you can only have one of those. Right. No, at the table. Well, I would imagine Kay and my daughter again, and son-in-law, they'll be having champagne. They'll be having wine if I could help it, but I think they'll be having champagne. And I'll probably be having a glass of wine. I like a glass of wine with my dinner. But then, you know, later on, I say one brandy and port. Always looking forward to having my brandy and port at the end of it. It's really very nice. I'm still standing up, of course.
We've got plenty of questions, of course, from our listeners on different themes. Our good friend Otterman has got in touch with quite a few questions as always, and we appreciate the support. He's simply asking, first of all, staying on the Christmas theme, what are you doing for Christmas this year?
So just family, very quiet. We're still being very careful, Otterman. Still being very, very. I wear a mask everywhere I go when I go out. Obviously not in the golf course, but when I go out anywhere I can, which is rare. We've been keeping ourselves to ourselves because it's bad down here. Trafford. I mean, we're just outside Trafford, but a lot of my friends are in there. We've been very, very careful. So at the moment, we've just got family coming around, and that's it. Obviously no holidays, no nothing. Just quiet. Just Kay's looking forward to the snow coming again. I think I prefer no snow so I can golf, but that's all. So it's just really quiet. And hopefully they'll let me put an Elvis movie on.
He also asks, which former Manchester United colleagues do you keep in touch with?
Keep in touch. You know, over the years, we all kept in touch with each other. We played golf. We kept in touch with each other. People, they all still lived here. I mean, I'm going way, back to when I finished. Bobby, Paddy, Dennis, Dave Sadler, Alex Stepney, Nobby, Stylesy. And they all still live around here, most of them. The other one who played for Man United I keep in touch with a lot is Jim McCalliog. But Jim he's back up in Scotland, but we keep in touch. But the last match I was crammed. I'd crammed and Noreen round. They came round for dinner a few months ago. And he was in good form with Patrick. And we're still all very friendly, but we don't, obviously with COVID, the last 2 years been a nightmare anyway. And then prior to that, it just, meet them golf days and things and functions. So, but say Patrick is, close with the family. Patrick being Mr. Crown, of course, and Jim McCalliog. But we all stayed friends to this day. We all stayed friends. I mean, up until George leaving Manchester, again, we used to see each other, to see quite a lot of George. And then when he went to London, it was more difficult. Then the next time I saw him was in America. I think I've told you before on the show that it was best it convinced me to go to America. He went out the year before, came back and said, "You have to come, you'll love it." And I did. So yeah, we're all still very friendly, even though we don't see each other as much as probably we should, but we don't.
Good friend of the show, Lynn Cameron, says, "Merry Christmas, Willie and Callum, to you and your families." Willie, do you think players who refuse to be vaccinated should be allowed to play?
No. No. Should be allowed to play. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. They're getting paid a fortune. And all the other players. You think of the people you're playing with and think of their families, and you're not prepared to get an injection. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. If I was the manager, not the coach, if I was the manager, he wouldn't be at my club. Anyone who refuses to, in the situation we've been in the last 2 years, I mean, everyone's a right to, do what they want to do. But it's not that situation. I mean, it's worldwide, it's there. It's not like it's pie in the sky. It wouldn't be at my club anyway.
And that's why we love this show, because you always give us an answer that's straight down the middle, and I like that.
I think most people would say the same. It's not just me. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's ridiculous. You're putting all your comrades into jeopardy, every one of them. Unless, of course, you're Matic, so nobody goes near you because you can't. No, seriously, no. As a manager, he wouldn't be he certainly wouldn't be playing for my team, and he wouldn't be anywhere near the football ground if he refused.
Otterman, back to him. He's got another question, which is quite interesting. Who was the dirtiest player that you ever faced?
The dirtiest player ever faced? Well, no, Otterman. What when I say ever faced? There was, I mean, all the fullbacks were hard. It was the halfbacks that were dirty. Hunter, Stylesy for that matter. I'm not going to rule Nobby out, and he's one of my great friends. Harman, Dave Mackay. There was loads, but the dirtiest, the guy, going back all them years, when I first started, they used to take you, put you up in the air, or put you into the stand, as they used to call it, but they never went over the top. Over the top was unheard. Nobody did that. They just go through you and kick you and whatever. And sadly, it was somebody who I admired very much that introduced over the top into English football. And he came from Celtic, sadly. Bobby Collins. Little Bobby, and a great player. I mean, I loved him, one of my Celtic heroes. Bobby was the first player, came to Leeds. And of course, then it went through the whole Leeds team. My only, you used to ride the tackles and that. The only time I got done badly was Johnny Giles. He was playing for Leeds, and it was we were playing them. It was a cup game, and it was at night, it was under the floodlights. And he came in from the side and went over the top and got me. And I'm lying there, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, Willie, I thought it was Bestie." And, yeah. And about 3 or 4 weeks later, we were playing them. And I took him in his midriff. I put my 6 studs down his midriff. I said, "Oh, sorry, I thought it was Billy Bremner." And in fairness to Jowsey, he said, "Touche, we're all square. We're all square. No hard feelings." Okay. That was it then. You know, there was no animosity, no hard feelings. He just said, "Yeah, oh, sorry, I thought it was Billy." And he took it very well. So, but there were no, over the top was unheard of. Over the top is the worst. You know, someone coming in late, letting you kick the ball, and then into your shins with the studs. See, that never used to be. The hard players, Tommy Smith, the great hard players. You know, Smithy was hard, but he was a good player. But they used to tackle you. They take the ball and go through you, but they take the ball. They didn't go for your legs. They weren't like that. They were just hard. And, you know, that was the game then. And then said, it was late in the 70s when Bobby came to Leeds, the over the top became prevalent and started in the game, which was a nasty. And if you watch some of the old games, you see they all did it. Billy, Jowsey, Bobby, Norman even took that up. But I think that's not, I don't know if it's in the game now at all. Somebody was screaming about Harry Kane tackle last week. I didn't see it, but I don't know if you saw it, Callum. Was it a bad tackle? Did you see it?
He did. He went with it. Literally, as you're just saying there, he went with his studs up and towards the shins, so it was quite dangerous. He should have went. Andrew Robertson, obviously Scotland captain, was sent off for something similar. He came out after the game and said, "Look, lost my head, deserved to go." But Kane tried to say he played the ball, but he didn't play the ball at all.
Well, he should have been off. But you see, that's where the game's wrong. Because even after the game's finished, all right, he didn't get sent off and they got a result, do them. They got video, you know, they're looking at videos, they got VAR, they got all this stuff now. Get somebody to come in, an adjudicator, and say, have a look at it. And if he went over, and you know when he's gone over the top, that's why I always advocated ex-players to be referees. I know when you've gone over the top. I know when you try to do somebody, even if you miss them. And all ex-players would know. And it's something that I've advocated, Callum, for 40 years. Ex-players become referees. And they would. You know, towards the end of your career, it's not rocket science being a referee. You have to look at some of them, not rocket science at all. And the game would be better because he knows I know. You'll think twice about trying to do something because I know what he's trying to do. And they'd walk. There'd be no hesitation. Even if we ended up with 3-3, 3 on one side, 3 on the other, they'd walk. And they'll stop it. You know, the one thing about players, even though they're not that bright, they do realise right and wrong. And if they know they're going to get sent off, they won't do it. They just won't do it. Make the punishment fit the crime, as they say.
The last question we've got this week is from Ashy. He says, what was the best moment of your career and what was the lowest moment of your career?
The lowest moment, I didn't really have low moments. I think 2 things probably. The best moment of my career, I think I said it in the last pod, when Scotland beat Czechoslovakia at Hampden and qualified for the World Cup. That night was, I mean, we had some phenomenal highs. As I said, walking out Old Trafford, making my debut for Burnley. But I think that night was fantastic. Lows, You know, we got robbed in the semi-final of the European Cup with AC Milan. We got robbed. We were beating them 1-0 and we scored a goal and the ball was a good yard over the line. And I followed it in, turned away to get hold of Dennis because he was the last one to touch it. And one of their players scooped it out and the referee played on. And that was heartbreaking because then we would have gone into extra time and we would have beaten them. We were all over them at Old Trafford in the second leg. And that was hard to take. We came off after the match was finished. We were heartbroken, which was rare because most times you take everything with a pinch of salt. So that was probably one of. And then when Doherty put me on the list without me knowing, that was I wasn't very happy that day either. So. But other than that, most of the down, very few downs. I mean, you didn't like getting beat, but you got on as part of the game. But that particular one was hard to take.
Well, again, very upfront and honest. Mentioned the lovely tree behind you, Christmas coming. We're recording this on today, the 21st of December. Christmas on the way. On Saturday. Obviously, from myself, I wish every single listener and viewer a very Merry Christmas and obviously a Happy New Year when it comes around. Let's hope, as Willie said earlier, that 2022 can be a much better year than this one. But before we go, I will leave you with the words of the icon himself.
Well, I have. I'm going to have to put some glasses on for this, though, Callum. I'd just like to say Merry Christmas to Paul, Steve, Julie, and John down at the Hilton in Reading, to Alan, Dougie, David and David, Martin, Gary, Neil, Danny, James, Andrew, and Jenny. They're all NG Baileys and they're all big fans of the show. I'd just like to wish you all a very happy Christmas and obviously a great new year. And I think to everyone, wherever you are in the world, all the listeners and all the viewers, have a great, great Christmas and hopefully a great new year. And as always, may your God go with you.